and is now in the process of filling out the health history form. As I mentioned, the health history form can be one of our 3 or 4 standard forms, or we can custom build your form for an additional fee. Okay, good. So basically then, we've got medical history information here that we've already filled out for him. We've got more medical history, place for explanations and surgeries. He had knee surgery in 2010. He's being seen by Dr. Jones, an orthopedic surgeon. We've got a place for medications and supplements. If you run out, they can simply add more lines, like just continue to click add, so they can add as many lines as they need for meds and supplements. They can put their medication and environmental allergies. They can put their preventive test history into the system. Once they're done, they click next. At this point, the form branches, so we're getting a male page. If we were a female, we'd get questions like the date of the last cycle and all of that kind of more fun stuff than the men have, is what we get if we were a female. In this case, we're going to just continue on. We've populated that we had a PSA and it was normal, and we've populated the answers to those questions. At this point, we get family history. We got mother and father still living. We've got a little bit of family disease stuff going on there, and we've typed that in, and we can move on to next. Next, we've got a social and general history. So basically, excellent overall health, overall fitness level, feeling fatigued all the time, no. Some dietary habits. He tries to eat a healthy diet, but then he commonly eats chocolate, diet soda, and potato chips. That's probably why he's overweight. And then from there, we've got some exercise habits. He doesn't exercise, never smoked, occasionally drinks. We'll go ahead and click next. Now, if somebody tries to leave the page and they haven't filled out everything, they're going to get a prompt like so: practice meditation, other relaxation wasn't filled in. Now we filled it in, and now we can go on. And now we can type in any soft text we've got there, and then we can go ahead and sign the form and date the form, and we can submit it. Okay? Mm-hmm. So with that, we have submitted the health history form, and now we can move on to the next step in the process, which is just the HIPAA acknowledgement. Again, more text there to read. Your notice of privacy practices would be available on this link, and then the acknowledgement is on this link, and this one is simple. All I've got to do is get my name in there and put the checkbox there and date the form, and we can submit that one. Okay, and then the final step, if you require advance payment, some practices do, some don't, about 70% do. If you require advance payment, it'll look about like this. Again, all this text that you see is configurable, and in this case, that brings me to the payment form. I can select from one or more initial visits if you've got more than one type of initial visit. I'm going to just go ahead and select the comprehensive visit. Once I do that, it's going to populate a form that I've got to agree to. This is optional, but basically it makes sure that they're clear on what they're buying and clear on what they're getting. So this just tells what they get, what they don't get, and what the cancellation policy is. So if they agree to those terms, they can click there, and then basically they can check out. Now, in checking out, notice that we have 3 choices for checkout. One is you don't have to require an advance payment at all if you don't want to. Number 2, you can require a real-time advance payment, which is what we're doing here. Which is not what we're doing here. Or you can require a deferred advance payment. So in this case, the advance payment is being deferred to the 23rd. So basically, the payment first, we're just taking their payment information, but it really won't be charged until the 23rd. So you can have a deferred, which can be any number of days, or you can have no deferral, which means it's going to charge today. Once I go ahead, put in my payment information, the system is going to process that. I'm going to set up that future payment, going to make sure the card's a valid card and all that information. Once it does, it's going to give me the option to continue on and schedule. I can then continue on and schedule in accordance with the practice rules. I've only got the one option here, the new patient appointment. It's a 1.5 hour appointment. All I need to do is click a white square is available and a gray square is not. I want to go to the next week. I just click the next week. And let's say I want to make my appointment on the 24th. I just click the one white square. That brings it up for confirmation, new patient appointment, March 24th, hour and a half. And I just click finish. So it's very easy for patients to make their own appointments. They can't, it's not like an Outlook calendar. They can't really mess up. You're going to control the activities they can select from. You're going to set up how long they are. You're going to set up what doctor they're with. And so it's very simple for them to simply make an appointment. It saves a lot of time. All right. Any questions about any of that?
No.
Okay, so that's our registration process. Now the person is finished. Is there a question?
Yeah, just one thing. Like, can you set up something for like when they come back for blood draws to fill out a form to talk about how they're feeling, to do symptoms, updated symptoms?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. We have we have questionnaires that you can build in the system, and you can send those out at any time. So you can send it out ahead of a visit, and it will, ask them the questions that you wanted to ask them, and it will populate those responses into your clinical note automatically. So you can build your own little 3-4, have you been compliant taking the medicines? Do you feel better or worse? If you feel worse, what issues are you having? Whatever you want to ask, you can ask those questions, and they can answer those questions, and those questions will populate into their clinical note. Yeah, awesome. Great question. Yep. Okay, so from here, they can edit their own profile. So if they need to change their demographics, they can make changes there. They don't have to call you. If they want to change their email or their phone number or whatever they need to change, they can just simply go in and change it. Everything is updated in real time. If they want to send you a secure message, they can do that. Secure messaging, of course, is HIPAA compliant. Email is not. So this allows you to have a doctor and patient communication that's secure, and it stays locked onto the patient record. So, for example, they simply select a department, in this case, business, clinical, or medical invoices. Let's just say clinical. And let's just fast forward and say they're having some kind of side effects. We'll say, Doc, I am not feeling well since taking the hormones, feeling nauseous, something like that. All right, so they can go ahead and send that message off to you, and it goes securely. It'll be saved in the secure message area, and now you'll be able to respond to that message. Moving on to finish up the patient portal, there is an RX order refill and plan page. So on this page, once it's been populated, they'll be able to see their medication list. They'll be able to get refills off that medication list, and they'll be able to see their clinical plan if you've used our plan builder, which displays their plan right in the patient portal. Lab results, they'll get there. Scheduling appointment is broader now that they're done with the intake process. They can simply schedule now all of the different appointments that you have. So this is where all of your spa appointments and everything would be shown. So here I've got a B12 injection. It's 15 minutes. I've got, I've got an initial evaluation. I've got, so I've got all these different things. So let's just go ahead and schedule. If they want to schedule a B12 injection, they just pick a date that's available, white square. And again, they just click finish. So it's like 2 clicks and they're done to scheduling appointments. So it's very simple for the patient. The online store is where they can go and buy, of course, their supplements from you. But keep in mind that if you have prescribed, I'll call it prescribing, but if you've added the supplements you want them to take onto their med list, they would actually be over here on the RX order refill and plan page. And so, therefore, it's a short list for them, and they don't have to, like, hunt through the store trying to find the exact product that you wanted them to get. So, basically, you can put supplements onto their profile, just like you can put medications on their profile, and they'll show up on their ordering short list, okay? But they can also just go into the store if they wanted to buy some things. And, again, the store will be made to look like your brand as well. and they can go into the store and shop just like they can shop on an Amazon against anything that you offer. The last thing they can see is their financial statement, so they can see all of their charges and all of their payments. In this case, you can see there's a $450 charge. It's going to be paid on the 23rd that we can see there. And one other thing we can see on the online forms page here is that we do have a Medicare private contract. So if you, assuming you've opted out of Medicare, you probably know that if you do treat a Medicare patient, they need to sign a Medicare private contract. And we've got that Medicare private contract so they can download and sign that electronically as well. Okay. Any questions about the patient portal?
No.
Okay, excellent. We're going to move over then and go ahead and show you the patient management portal now. So the patient management portal, it's got the same branding on it, but it's a slightly different page, and we're going to go ahead and log into that. So better type slower. Okay, so once I've logged into the patient portal, I've got a dashboard here on the first page that tells us some things. These counters up here are things that require action, and the counter represents the number of things that have not been opened or dealt with. So the first one is the EIMS inquiries, which are leads. So these are the people that either came in through that contact page, like I mentioned at the beginning, or if they didn't come in through the contact page, you put them in manually. So in other words, like if somebody calls into your office and they're interested in becoming a patient, the starting point for that entry is going to be here as a new inquiry. And so you can put them in. All you need is their first name, their last name, their email address, and their phone number, and how they found you. And you can go ahead and set up a lead record for them, okay? From that lead record, we can manage the leads fully here. So let's go ahead and open one up. We're going to say, we'll open up George Jones. He says he needs to lose weight and get his energy back. So we're going to open up George Jones. He went onto your contact page and filled it out. And there's a few things you can do. Number one, you can make notes here so that as multiple people are working on leads at once, we can make notes here. We said that we've spoken to him and he's ready to get started. So we can do that simply by opening log a call, log a task. And here we can log the call by just typing in here. And if we want it to be a future task, we can log it in up here by putting in a date. So let's say he wants a call back on Friday after he has spoken to spouse. Okay, so we can log that as a future task, and that will then, the system will keep track of that for me, not only down there in the to-do list, but I can also click my lead follow-up report, and at any point in time, it's going to show me all of those follow-ups that I've got to make. So there's the one there, and I need to follow up with him at some point. So that's how I log future tasks. The other thing I can do with George is if he says I'm ready to get started, all I have to do is send him our intake form email, which is one of our 50 or so pre-built emails that helps you with workflow. This one says, thanks for your inquiry. You may call the office after 10. Click this link to get started and fill out these steps. So basically, if I just go ahead and send that to him, that will automatically then send him the instructions on going through our intake process, the same intake process you just saw me go through a few moments ago. Okay, so that's the way you direct him through the intake process, is by sending him that email. The system also provides a nice lead summary report so that over time you can look back and see what % of your leads have you closed. It will give you conversion stats and everything else. So you can see, like, for example, let's go back here a little bit where I got some leads. And we run this report, we can see here we had 8 leads and we closed 1. So we got a closing ratio, closed 2 rather, we got a closing rate of 25% on our 8 leads. So that's pretty handy so that you know over time what lead sources are working and which ones are not. So that's pretty much the lead side of things. moving on, let's take the secure message that he left us and go ahead and handle that. So we're going to go into secure messages. We've got 54 of them that we need to deal with. And he said, I'm not feeling well since taking the hormones. He's feeling nauseous. And so we can do several things with that. We can go ahead and click reply in order to respond to it. And we can tell him to stop taking the meds and schedule a 30-minute appointment for discussion, something like that. So we're done with the message. We can go ahead and mark it as closed. We just mark it as closed like so, and we can send it, and that will close the message, send him that response, but yet that message will stay on his chart. So the message will not leave his chart. Neither person can take it off the chart, and therefore it stays a permanent part of the record. If you're only responsible for one department, you can filter. You can filter the messages down to the department you're responsible for. We also have the concept of an internal box where the doctor can have a box that's not visible to the patient, and that way staff can triage most of the messages and handle them, and the ones they cannot handle, they can put them in the doctor's internal box, and the doctor is the only one who, the doctor can then go into his or her internal box and close the messages from there. So that allows for effective triaging. That takes us through secure messaging, managing those. We've got refills can be handled directly from here, the electronic ones that come in through the system. Got 63 of those. Intake files is where the files that the patient is filling in are going to come into. You can open them from there. We can open them from there. And so we're going to go ahead, actually, let me get back to the dashboard. We're going to drop to the next part of the dashboard. So, again, those are work streams up there. The counters tell us how many actions we have to do. Down here, this is the intake status part of the dashboard. The green check marks obviously indicate that a person has completed a step. So this person that we've been working with, FLA 31017, has completed his health history form, his HIPAA form, his payment form, and his appointment record, and his appointment has been made. Things that aren't complete will have just a regular green dot or red dot if it's been too long since they finished the last step. So that's a timer-based function. And then we've got dashboards down here that tell us how we're doing as far as business health appointments today, this week, last week. These are all live icons. I can click into them and see the data behind them, which they're pretty handy. I just don't have a lot of data in this demo system right now. So that's why we're not seeing too much. Same thing down here, new patients, how many new patients, how many programs have I sold, how many renewals have I sold, and how many inquiries have we had in the last 30 days. So all of that information is there to really help you manage the business. All right, let's work with this person here a little bit and go ahead and check them out. So I'm going to click on their record. That takes me to the record that I can see. It's pretty much the same data that you could see from the patient side. And if we click Make Payments, that'll take us onto the checkout page. Now, this is where you were saying that, you know, you've got all kinds of things that you sell besides just your medical services, and that's fine. We've got all these blue buttons for things to be behind. There's initial visits, there's programs, there's procedures, products, so all kinds of stuff can be sold through the system. So let's, for example, we can put a procedure in here. So we can say you got a B12 injection, you got a heavy metal urine screen. So these could be all kinds of things that you're selling them that could be from your aesthetic side, you know, that you can drop into here. So again, there's no, you know, Botox per unit. So, you know, if you're selling Botox, for example, we can then edit the number of units to get to the number of units. So if you got, you know, 20 units of Botox, that's going to be our $200. So we got 20 units of Botox, a B12, and a heavy metal urine screen, and that totals $450. Okay. From there, we can simply check the person out right live here in the system. Come down here, put in our card information. Excuse me. and we can go ahead and check them out. That's a real-time checkout. It's going to charge the card just like as if we had swiped it through a swipe terminal. That's going to charge that card in real time the appropriate amount of money that it's supposed to charge.
Okay.
Okay. Now the nice thing is it also preserved that card. So like, let's say for example, fast forward now to the next time the person comes and we're going to sell them another B12 injection. $100. All we got to do now is scroll down and pick credit card on file. There's a credit card on file, and we can simply check out. We don't have to put in any card information second time around. So pretty handy and fast. Makes checkout a lot faster. Do you have a lot of products, or is it just services that you sell? Do you sell a lot of products as well?
Some products, like, I don't have them here in the office.
Oh,
but,
you don't? Okay, okay.
Like Zymogen
Okay.
and stuff like that, and things from compounding
Oh,
pharmacy.
okay. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, so those products, those products will be sold. I'll show you how those get sold in just a few moments. So we'll get to when we get to the clinical record. So anyway, but that's how, let me ask you this. When you sell your services, do you sell programs, or is it just by the visit? You just sell?
By the visit.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, so, I mean, basically, just by the visit, you just be, simply choosing the appropriate visit category. You'd have your different visits. There's a 30-minute visit, and then that's what you would charge. So whatever is in the system that you set up, that's how you would charge them for your visit. So when they came in, and once again, all we'd have to do is use a credit card on file, and we'd be able to go ahead and check out. So the checkout becomes really fast, okay? So basically, all of your items that you sell would go behind one of those doors or another. As a spa, if you sell gift certificates, we support those as well. So you can sell advance, if you're selling things in advance, either as a true gift certificate to a third party, or sometimes people sell things, buckets of things. So we also sell packages and manage packages. Do you have like packages of 6 of this and 4 of that and that kind of thing?
Yes.
Okay. So like when I sold a B12 package of 4. If you look up here, it's going to keep track of those packages. You can see here, well, this is, let's see, get to the right place here. Yeah. I don't know what's going on.
My stupid phone on the computer. It's all right.
Okay, so here's that B12. The B12 package of 4 that I sold. So basically it shows that I sold a package of 4. None have been used. So as we make appointments, which we can actually even schedule right from this list right here. But as we make appointments, it will draw down off of that just like it's done up here and keep track of those as to how many are left. So we're automatically managing your packages for you. So when you set up an item that's a package, you set it up as a package, and then we'll manage the use of that package for you. Okay, so that's another piece that we're managing automatically. Right now, I guess you're probably keeping track of it on a spreadsheet or something, right?
No, just keeping track on it by their the part of their sheet that shows how much they purchased, and
Okay.
just.
So, yep. So we've got you covered there on your packages. So that's the way that part works. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to pick one of my patients who's got quite a bit of clinical data and show you how the clinical side looks. So I'm going to pick. I'm going to start off by picking a patient that's already got a lot of stuff, just so we can kind of get a glimpse here of how it looks when it's all filled out. So when I go to the clinical side of the system, this is my clinical dashboard. And so I can see here my vitals. Vitals can be whatever items you've loaded in the vitals. This is an active problem list. Actually, it's the active problem list as well as on the bottom, we have the historical problem list. So if you've had problems that are resolved or problems where the status has changed, you'll be able to see those status changes on those problems as you go. This is their medication and supplement list. So as I mentioned earlier, not only the meds, but the supplements can go onto their list. And, here's supplements that have been added onto their list. There's some Metagenic, some Zymogen, et cetera. that I've added on to that particular person's medication list. And here's their meds up here, DHA and pregnenolone, and these can be both compounds as well as standard medication. So that's how they get onto the list. Once they're on the list, the patient and you has a page called the RX order page. And so it becomes very simple then to order because, like for example now, if I want to order the Metagenics products, for example, I can simply come up here to shopping cart. I don't have to go to the shopping cart itself, and I can just pick the items that I want to order from the shopping cart right here with clicking the order button and click submit. And that will drop those items into my into my shopping cart for checkout. So you see now, without actually having to go into the cart and find those items, I was able to simply go to my short list, select those items, and now I can check out of the shopping cart, and all the downstream stuff will happen. So that's the way we've simplified the ordering process. Very much so is by allowing them to order right off the short list. So you build their short list as you prescribe things for them, and then they can order directly off that short list without having to go into the cart and searching for glutamine and searching for adrenaline and all that. Okay? So that's the way that we facilitate ordering. Let's go back here to the EHR again. These are the clinical notes and encounters that have happened. These are the patient plans. So remember I talked about our plan builder. So our plan builder works by allowing you to just kind of click, drag, and drop and build their plan. And you can also easily modify their plan. So in this case, the plan was modified, for example, revised plan to eat balanced, healthy meals with a target of 800. So each one of these items that you see here are items that are in a library, okay? So there's a library that you can build of all of your plan items: limit intake of fast foods and reduce alcohol consumption and perform mild exercise. All of these things you put into a library, and so it becomes very easy to simply click them into the plan, into a patient plan, and then build their plan, and then the patient actually gets to see the plan like this. So right now I'm looking at the staff view of the plan, but the patient view of the plan is exactly the same. So it's the one part of the note that the patient can see, and a lot of practitioners find that to be very handy. So that's kind of the way it looks. Now let's work with this patient that we started working with and go ahead and see if we can build some of these items. So I'm going to go to search patient, find Etherly, find the patient that we were working with, and we're going to go to the stethoscope to open up the clinical record. So right now there's no vitals, so if we want to record vitals for this person, we simply go into the vitals tool. Now I won't take the time to do it today, but you can also add a baseline and a goal. So if you're in the helping patients with weight loss, it's very helpful to put in their baseline weight and a goal weight in addition to their measures for the visit. To put in a measure for the visit, we simply select the visit that we're putting in the visit, the weights for, and we just select that it's an office visit. So now we can say, I think the guy said he was 72 inches tall, he was like 300 pounds, probably got body fat of about 60%. We'll say his blood pressure is high as well. We'll make his blood pressure like 150 over 90, heart rate about 75, and so on and so forth. So again, we can use as many of these measures as we want, and we can hide all the rest that we don't want. Is there a question?
Does the BMR automatically populate?
No, not the BMR. What am I thinking about? The BMI will calculate, yes. Not the BMR. The BMR is the basal metabolic rate. That typically is going to come from some sort of a body composition monitor that you have. That from that data there's no way to really calculate BMR accurately. We can calculate, like I said, we can calculate the other measure, but not BMR. All right, we'll go ahead and click Save, and that will then show those measures that we've input, the height, the weight, and again, as we then have future visits, the same thing would happen. I'll just go ahead and record since I got another visit here. We'll just say, well, when we did this B12 injection, we did his weight as well. We did everything as well. And we'll say that now he's maybe down to 280. body fat's still about 60%, blood pressure still high, heart rate, and so we can, just wanted to show you that so we can save the record. And so as we record those measures, what we're doing is building up there, and now we can see, again, the new latest measures there. And then at any point in time, we can view history table, which will show all of the measures that we've recorded. Whoops. Oh, well, I guess I need, for that to work, I do need the baseline in there. But that'll show all the measures. You can also record pictures in here. So you can upload pictures. So you like a baseline picture, and then each visit you can record pictures. So if you want to store pictures of your patients and show them progress over time pictorially, you can store pictures in there as well. Okay. So we'll keep it moving. The next thing we typically would do would be our meds. So let's go over and do.
Okay, Andre,
yeah.
This is actually on YouTube, as you know, because you have it on YouTube. So really what I'm more interested in is seeing like a soap note being created. And
that's where I was going. Yeah, I'm getting ready to create a soap note, but I needed a couple meds on first so that the soap note will make more sense. But my next step after putting on the meds is to do a soap note. I just wanted to have a couple meds on because that way you'll see the full process. So let me just quickly add a couple meds on here, and then I think you'll see it makes sense. If I don't have any meds on and I do my soap note, I'll be missing a piece of it. So I'm going to do a cream here. And we can grab 1 gram, 30 grams, and 2 refills, for example. So we can do our compound prescriptions that way. And let me add one supplement on here. I'll show you how supplements get added on. Pretty much the same process, a little different. We can add shopping carts, and I'll add something from Zymogen. I think you said you were using Zymogen. So we'll give them glutamine from Zymogen. And we're just going to say take as directed. And on supplements, I normally just leave the refills at $9.99 since we don't care how many they get. And we just save it. We're not transmitting it anywhere. We're just saving it onto their record. This is how those supplements get added onto their record so that, again, they can be ordered and also so they can go into the clinical plan. All right. So now we're going to go and do that soap note you were asking about. So basically what we do is we start off with select, in this case, a new patient encounter. That's just an encounter list that you can set up. We're going to then indicate which appointment we're documenting this comprehensive initial assessment. We can then notice it already knows that there were vitals, so it's already checked the box for vitals. Okay. And then from that point, we're going to grab one of our templates. Templates are something that we build for you, so really I find that these are so different from one clinic to the next, but I'll just show you a couple. There's all kinds of choices for templates. I'll just show you a couple of different templates. This one here has, these boxes here that can be typed into, or if you're using Dragon, you can always talk into them. You can talk and Dragon will type. So that's so this is basically one sort of note. There's a place for assessments, a place for plan. Let me pick another one just to show you a couple of different ones. I'm going to show you this one. This is a very specific note for a clinic, but the cool thing about it is it shows you all the different types of ways that we can use in our soap notes. For some reason that didn't. Let me just reset this here. So we'll go new patient encounter. I'm going to document this one. I'm going to choose new patient SIRS. We'll override that. So this one again has some boxes like so that you can type into for complaints and things like that. Then it has a place for medical history. Now, let's go and show how medical history can drop in. So let's go over to the patient medical history tab. And one of the things we can do is we can actually parse that history form that the patient's already filled out, so we don't have to retype that. So we click parse the form, and it's going to fill in the entire form, these three sections: prior medical history, social history, and the family history, with everything that the patient had filled out. If I want to drop that into my note, now this is a persistent tab. So medical history will stay here, not just for this note, but for any note, so I can always just come back and drop this in there. But basically, if I want to drop this in there and I want to include this in a note, I'm just going to go ahead and click Add History to the note, and that is going to then drop that entire section of medical history right into my note. So there we go. Patient states primary reasons for visit: overweight, fatigued all the time. They want to achieve this. They admit none. Those are the things they denied. There's their explanations. There's a knee surgery from 2010 that you saw. There's who they're under the care of. So that entire, all of their responses to all of the things have dropped into my note all automatically. So that's one of the things that we do that's really cool. So that's our past medical history. Our vitals have already dropped in as well, because we checked the box up there, so the vitals have dropped in that we did as well. Now this one has some symptom check boxes, so yes and no, so we can check whichever ones, maybe yes, as we ask in the patient. So again, we can use all different sorts of techniques to try to minimize typing. You know, this is there were 37 symptoms for this particular disease set, and this clinic wanted that disease set documented in that way. So again, there's more boxes you can type into. And then there's more stuff here. This is a very specific template. I just wanted to show it to you. And you can have things that are pre-written as well in these templates, so they don't have to be empty. If there's language that you use all the time, you can have things pre-written. So that's the way that template lays out. The next thing is my follow-up. I can set up my follow-up. I can either use, for follow-ups, I can use individual follow-ups where I just type them one at a time. I can just type in like a follow-up date and a follow-up. Or I can have pre-built follow-ups that we call follow-up templates. And these can be, I can have multiple things already built into a particular follow-up template group. So I've got one here called base level program follow-up, and that one brings in 2 follow-ups, one in 10 days, check with patient, ensure they've received all meds. So that's a follow-up that goes on the record in 10 days, and this one is a 90-day follow-up. So what happens to these follow-ups is they go into this area up here, patient follow-ups, and someone is managing this tickler file every day with all the patient follow-ups. So again, you can get as elaborate as you want with creating pre-planned follow-up groups so that you can very easily then drop the follow-ups onto the patient record. So I'm dropping them into this note, but they'll also go automatically into that follow-up tickler list. Typically, the next thing I'm going to do is put the diagnostic codes onto this note. So I'm going to put some diagnostic. I'm just going to kind of randomly pick some here just to keep this moving. So I'm going to randomly pick some diagnostic codes to go onto this note. So I'll put 3 diagnostic codes onto the note. And then typically the next thing I would do then would be to do my clinical plan. Okay, so that would be my next thing, to do my clinical plan. So for that, I'm going to go to this Plan Builder tab. I've got 3 tabs. I'm on the note and the clinical plan and patient history. These are persistent tabs. So the very first time that I build a plan, typically the first thing I want to do is bring in my meds into my plan. So this is why I said I wanted to do some meds first. So I can click Add all meds and supplements to the plan, and that's going to add the glutamine and the pregnenolone into my plan. You can see it did that. The glutamine and the DHA pregnenolone now has been added into my plan. If I need to make a longer sig because, you know, maybe I want to take it as directed on the bottle, but maybe what I really want to say is, you know, take 2 for the first 3 days, 5 for the next, you know, something like that, next 7 days, and so on and so forth. So I can create a very long and complex sig to go there that tells the patient more instructions than what I can put on a label. Other than that, then when I want to add my other plan elements that are not what I'll call my lifestyle plan elements, I just click the Add Plan Element button and add some blank plan elements. And then from there, again, without typing, what I can do is I can work with these, and let's say, for example, person's got a blood pressure problem, so let's tell them to monitor his blood pressure. Okay, so I've got one here called blood pressure monitor, and I just add it to the plan, and this one just says monitor his blood pressure twice daily. Now again, I can get more elaborate. These are just short. Now if I want him to reduce his calories and avoid gluten, so I've got one here, a pre-written called calorie restriction, avoid gluten, and I just click that one, eat balanced healthy meals with a target of, we'll say, 1,500 calories, for example. And let's see, we need to tell him to do some exercise. So you see, I can have as many of these things in my library as I want. So let's see, let's tell him to do some exercise, and we're going to tell him to do some high-intensity interval training. So exercise, engage in high-intensity interval training for 3 days a week for 25 to 35 minutes each time. Now, if I like to, I don't have to, but I can associate problems with these so that I'm telling him why. I'm telling you to do this because you're overweight. I'm telling you to do this because you're overweight and you've got other problems. I'm telling you to do this because of this problem. So I can associate the problem so that I'm telling him specifically why. Okay. And I can have as many of these as I want. And it's very easy to add a new one to the library, okay? All I need to do is add a new plan element. I want to add one to the library. I can simply enter it here, and when I'm done entering it, I just say add as a template, and that's going to add it as a template, give it a name, and I'm done. So it's very easy to add one as a template as well, all right? Once I'm all done building my plan, then I just go ahead and click Add Plan to Note. So this is my plan builder, and now I just populate that so that it goes back into my note, and it's going to drop in at the bottom, and there's my plan all built out, and so now I'm ready to save my note. So I go ahead to generate the note.
Now is that signing the note too?
No, I'm going to show you that in a second. So there's two things I can do. I can save and approve. So if I save the note, that just saves it. The note is saved, but it's not, quote, signed, if you will. If I want to sign the note, I save and approve, and then the system is going to require me to put in my password again. And then that locks the note so that the note cannot be further altered except by the person that signed it. And then even then, it's going to lock in the version. So when you further modify this note, it's going to create a second version of it and keep track of when you actually first saved it, so that from a medical legal perspective, we keep track of when you first signed the note and what was in the note at the point when it was first signed versus what you added on maybe at a later date.
Okay.
Okay. So that's the distinction between save and approve. For right now, I'll just save it, but if I were trying to actually sign this note, I would do save and approve, and like I said, I have to put in my password. Now, let's just fast forward to the next note, because I want to show you how easy it becomes to really use that plan. So now the next note, when I'm doing my next note, and I'm not going to fill in this top part, but when I go to the plan, now I can use prior plan elements. So I can bring back all those prior plan elements, and then all I need to do is just change whatever I want to change, okay? So, you know, let's say, for example, I want to modify this one because the blood pressure is still a problem, so I want to monitor the blood pressure, say, 4 times daily. And learn to eat balanced, healthy meals. Let's take his calories down to 1,200 instead of 1,500. And let's bump this up and tell him that we need to exercise 5 days instead of 4 days instead of 3 days, okay? So it's very easy for me to modify the plan, as you can see, and then add that plan to the note. And so it's, you know, in 5 seconds I can literally modify that clinical plan. And so that's what a lot of docs like about our clinical plan builder is that, yeah, it's easy to build it the first time, but it's super easy to modify that plan as you go forward and keep it a live and breathing plan. And as soon as you save it, that plan is visible. As long as you check the visible to the patient checkbox, as soon as you save it, that plan will be visible to the patient.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, it's a really open system. I think Nick would be interested in seeing the, I don't know if he needs to see more about the, because he's the marketing person.
Oh, okay. Nick, do you have some questions for me? Is there something in particular you'd like to see?
Does it do CCD exports?
CCD exports?
Not today. We're looking at it. It's not something that we're doing right this moment, but we are familiar with it, and we're working on it.
Do you have any open? Is it all open source?
Is it all open source?
No, of course it's not open source. I mean, it's it's an open platform, but it's not open source as such. I mean, this is this is a piece of software that we built, and it's not an open source library. I mean, keep in mind that this is 100% web-based, so there's nothing installed anywhere in your environment. This is 100% web-based. I'm simply on a series of web pages that are linked together. But this is not like a software product that you're going to install somewhere. This is purely pure web, as we would call it.
What's the cost on this?
The cost, the cost is looks like this. If you're looking at so first of all, I always like to just show people, because some people say, well, it's more than another EHR. So the EHR only part is $375 a month. The full solution, everything that you've seen and a lot of stuff you haven't seen, is either $575 a month on a month-to-month contract, or $475 on a 36-month contract. Apart from that, then there's a startup cost, which the startup cost is on a 24-month contract is $1475, and on a month-to-month contract, the startup cost is $2475. So it just depends. So basically, again, it's month-to-month is $575, and that's for a single practitioner, with the $2,400 startup fee, or with a 36-month contract, it's $1475 and $475 a month on a 36-month contract.
What's the total cost of a year with training and implementation? Also, is that a optional fee?
It's what optional?
The implementation and training.
No, that's a mandatory fee. I mean, that takes us, that gets you through all the training and implementation costs. So, I mean, this is not an implement it yourself type thing. We're going to give you full training to make sure that you can use the software properly. And we provide continuous full training, and there's never a charge for training. I should be clear on that. So there's never a charge for training, and there's unlimited support. So we want to make sure you can use the software and use it effectively.
What are the support hours?
Pardon me?
What are support hours?
Support hours are generally from 8 to 8 Eastern time, which is whatever, depending on what time zone you're in. But I mean, we'll provide support after that, and that's just in terms of what our official support hours are. But if you email support, what I find is that 9 times out of 10, those support questions get answered even in the late evening hours. There's always somebody monitoring our support line. So, but those are kind of the official support hours.
Okay. What would the total cost be for a year?
Well, I'd have to add that up real quick. I mean, but basically, it's 11 months at, if you, again, it depends on whether you're talking on the 36-month contract or on the other. It would be, if you're on a 36-month contract, let me just add it up here. 1 second. Never looked at it exactly like that. Let's see.
Actually, I have another question as well.
Okay, let me just, so basically it would be, like I said, it would be $1475, and then plus 11, you get the first month free, so you don't pay for the first month of monthly support. So 11 times 475 is 5225 plus 1475, which is 6,700. So the first year is 6,700, and then every year after that it would just be 475 times, 475 times 12. which is 5,700. Yep.
Okay. Nick, do you have something else you want to ask about that? We have kind of a complicated, it probably could be more simple, but we just haven't figured out.
It's 1 o'clock.
Is to have a flow sheet on Excel that we keep track of all the labs before and after implants.
Uh-huh.
You know what their levels are, and then what I dosed them with. I saw there's a place for attachments. Is that just where you'd attach that? Because
yeah, you can attach. There's about 3 places in the system for where you can attach and upload. There's an images area that you can attach and upload. There's lab results area. Keep in mind that we provide, other than the fact that it doesn't have your what you dosed them with. I mean, we do provide basically a flow sheet on the labs. It kind of looks, I don't know if I have any. Let's see, I don't think I have any labs in this system. Let's see, do I? Yeah, I have some labs in this system. So if we come into here, for example, and these are just dumb stuff the lab sends us. But in any event, what I'm going to show you here is, this is the way the labs come in, you know, into our integrated lab modules, right? And then once you've got multiple sets of lab results, you can do this history comparison view, which the labs send dumb stuff. But we can do the history comparison view, which will take the lab result and show us one column, one column, one column going across in time. So that's kind of your flow sheet, other than the fact that there's no dosing, there's no way for you to add anything on it, and there's no dosing. But the flow sheet will build itself automatically as the lab results come in.
And it'll go directly under that patient's name?
Yeah, as long as, so here's what happens, okay? The way this works is, first of all, we have bidirectional lab integration module. So if you actually create the order in the system, then the result will 100% of the time come in and be matched. See how this result says matched and how this one says unmatched? Okay? So what happens is that if, in fact, you put the order in through the system, it'll go through our 6-way match, and it'll always match. The 6-way match is the order ID, the patient ID, the name, the date of birth, the social, if it's there, and the sex. Now, the way the lab forces us on this, because they want to make sure there's never a possibility of a wrong match. So if you order through the system, all the results will come in matched. If you don't order through the system, some of the results are going to come in matched if it meets all 5 or 6 of these criteria, and some will come in unmatched, and you'll have to click the match button and match it. If, like, for example, if there was a middle initial in the record and not in the lab, or something was slightly different, it's not going to match. The lab will not let us do approximate matches. Any approximate matching, you have to do that and look at the record, and therefore you made the mistake. But they won't let us machine-wise match a result that could possibly not be the right person. So it has to be, everything has to be exact. Yeah.
Okay, let me ask you something. We often get labs from other pharmacies, you know, that are faxed to us. Can we just drag and drop those in?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, they can go in, right, sure. They can go, the ones that you get faxed in, there's a couple things you can do, but mainly you can put them into, I'll just show you a lab area here. So the manual lab area. So I need to be on a patient record. So if I just pick a patient record, go to labs. So basically what I do is any of these results right here. So you can see here, like here, I've got a result. So I can just choose file upload and upload right into this area. So this is our manual area where you order labs. Like if you just want to create a PDF requisition as opposed to sending it off to one of the integrated labs. So if it's not a lab that we're integrated with and you want to send a lab order, you want to create a lab order, you can create a lab order there, and then you can come in here and just choose file and upload the result like I've done here. So there's a result, there's the lab requisition itself, and then there's a lab result. So you have a place for you to put lab results and lab orders that aren't part of our integrated suite of labs.
Yeah, but when we scan them in, what I'm asking is, do you have to save it to the desktop and then go find it where you saved it, or can you just literally drag it in after you
No,
scan it?
you'll have to, I mean, most people, what they're doing rather than to the desktop, because again, we're talking about sensitive patient data. Most people are saving it to something like Dropbox Pro or one of those tools that provides security rather than on the desktop, and they're saving it to, like I said, like a Dropbox Pro, and then they're uploading it from there as opposed to a desktop. But you can't just like drag it. We don't have a tool yet. So we're looking at something like that. But right now, you do have to actually save it somewhere and then upload it.
Yeah, see, the thing of it is we just get so many daggone things that it just takes multiple steps to get it into a chart.
Well, but let me show you another option. And if you get a lot of fax labs, first of all, are you getting fax labs because MacPractice doesn't have integrated labs? Because remember, we're integrated with like 100 different labs. So if you're integrated, you're not going to be getting those faxes. They're just going to come into that result list. Okay. So LabCorp, Quest, True Health, and 100 other labs are already integrated with us. So if you're using those labs, are you using Quest and LabCorp?
Some of them are just like going to, you know, rural hospitals because that's where they live. That's what I'm talking about.
So I get those. So here's the best way to deal with those, right? It is an additional $50, but it saves you a lot. It saves you a lot because you don't need your other fax service. We have a built-in fax service, so we'll give you a fax number. And if you use the built-in fax service, what happens is the fax actually just comes right into the system under this eFax message list right here. And now what you can do, for example, is once you've matched it with a patient, you simply say associate, and then if it's a lab result, you simply say associate lab order result, and it automatically populates to that area. So you don't have to do all of that. So basically, the fax would just come right inside the system, so you're not having to do any uploading at all.
Initially,
we give you a fax.
$dollars.
Every fax, as long as you give them this fax number. We give you a brand new fax number.
That's not what
When the fax comes in, it comes in right here to this eFax message list. From that, you match it to the patient, and then you just click associate, like lab order results, and that will move it to the lab order results area automatically.
I understand that. What I'm asking is the $50, is that one time or monthly?
Oh, no, that's monthly. That's monthly for up to 300. That's for the number and up to 300 minutes of faxing inbound.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So, but what you find though is that if you're using anything like eFax or any of those services are actually costing you more than that, and so basically this just becomes a replacement service. Okay?
Right.
Like eFax charges 10 cents a page, is what they charge. So, and our charge is, like I said, we're charging you $50 for 300 minutes, and 300 minutes is about 1,500 pages of faxing, because you get it on the average, you get about five pages a minute on faxing.
Okay.
So you're for 1,500 pages, you're paying $50, whereas for 1,500 pages of eFax, you'd be paying about $150.
No, I get you.
We have 7 minutes left. You've been awesome. I just want to make sure we get through the rest of our questions.
Okay, go ahead.
You know, the other thing, how long are your sprints? How long what? What's your sprint release time? How are you, agile or waterfall?
We're more agile than anything else. I mean, and we put out a new release about every 45 to 60 days.
Okay. Do you have live chat for support?
We do not right now. We've had it. It just didn't work so well. We're looking at a different application. If we find a good application, we'll probably add it back.
Do you have what kind of data can you capture? To where?
What do you mean by that?
What kind of tables can you make? What kind of data can you export, import? What can you do in the terms of data mining and analytics?
Well, as far as outbound analytics, we're working to bring forward. We've got some simple export capability right now. We're just exporting, basically flat spreadsheets. But we're looking at adding a more sophisticated type of clinical data mining that'll be based on population health. We're working on it right now, being able to export like conditions and medication condition combinations and things of that nature. Some fairly sophisticated data mining. Right now, we just have some kind of simple export, flat file export capability.
And does this do any kind of automatic alert when somebody needs to be having a appointment scheduled, but they're not?
I mean, you can create sort of that by. I mean, we've got. We've got functionality that knows how long. I mean, we've got, like, for example, on the dashboard, an item that.
Is that an easy thing to do, to send alerts or even messages to patients knowing that they need to schedule an appointment?
It's easy. You can do it automatically. We have campaign functionality. Okay, so let's understand our campaign functionality. Campaign functionality. Pardon me?
If you say you can do it, that's fine enough.
Yeah. Yep. We can do that.
You have digital consent forms?
Digital consent forms?
Yes.
You can build, I mean, yeah, well, yes. I mean, you can build any sort of e-signature document in our system and have it electronically signed. So it's not just for consent. You can build any sort of document. We have what we call an e-signature document capability, and you can just simply copy and paste from Word or whatever and build your own document. You decide where you want the signature, and then you're able to send that document out for signature. So we have the full-blown e-signature capability, so not just some static consent form that we have, but you can take any document that you want to create as a signature document and make it a signature document.
Andre, is that third party that you have to use, or can that all be done?
No, this is all internal with any Medical Fusion. We didn't use a third party.
Okay. And can you send, well, you said you could send prescriptions directly from the program, right?
Of course, yeah. We have two ways, our fax way and through e-prescribing. We have both.
Okay. And you said it does integrate with QuickBooks. Well, I think I saw that.
Yep, we have QuickBooks integration.
So, Andre, if I have a procedure that I just fill out all the stuff in the spa, can I just have something where I just upload that thing I filled out in the spa with the stickers and stuff like that?
Okay, I didn't follow you. You said if you have a procedure, what about the procedure now?
And I've got like a pre-formed procedure note that I use in the spa, and I put stickers on it, like from filler or a certain.
Yeah, you just call it a name, and you can create as many soap templates as you want, and you would just call it, this is my filler template, just like I selected a SIRS template, and I selected this template. So you can have as many of those as you want. You can have an unlimited number of those pre-built templates. Does
it have revenue cycle management capabilities?
No, I mean we're not a third. We don't do any third-party billing. This is all. I mean this is all for cash, credit cards, e-checks, etc. But we don't have any third-party billing. So when you say revenue cycle management, I think about third-party billing. What do you mean by that?
Well, let me rephrase it. Well, I want to ask a different question. Are you able to see like attrition?
Yes, you can on that.
Yeah, you can see attrition from the dashboard. You can see, typically you're going to set like, well, you don't have programs, so I'm not really sure how you would see attrition because you don't have programs. Practices that have programs would see attrition because they would see, like for example, if I've got 360 patients, for example, just to use a round number, on the average then, assuming they're on 12-month programs, I should be renewing about 30 a month, right? So I'd be able to see right here on the dashboard how many I'm renewing. But if you don't have the concept of a program and people are just randomly coming on visits, I'm not sure how you'd see attrition, because you don't really know whether somebody just hasn't come back because they aren't ready to come back, or whether they've dropped out. You know, if you use programs, then you would know that. But without using programs, I don't know how you'd see attrition.
Okay. Well, I don't think we have any more questions.
Okay.
I appreciate you.
Programs would be the way to go. Programs would be the way to go, Doc, if you wanted to get a better handle on your revenue. And also, it tends to drive more revenue. Every practice I've seen that switched from by the visit to programs, and we've helped a lot of them directly through consulting, it tends to drive more revenue. So more revenue per patient is what we see out of practices that do programs. If you look at every practice that I have that does programs versus practices that do not do programs, the practices with programs will have more revenue, usually by anywhere between 2.5 or 3 to 1 over practices that don't have programs.
Okay. Well, I don't have any more questions.
I don't either. You got a really awesome program there, Andre.
All right. Well, what are next steps here? Would you guys like to?
If you could send us this recording, or send me, or so that my staff can look at it.
Okay.
And real quick, Andre, it was how much for 1 year and how much for 3 years, including the implementation?
Well, let's see. I didn't write that down. Basically, I'll put it on this year though. So what I said was that is that it's 475 times 11 if you go with a 3-year contract plus 1470. So that's 5225. No, well, 5225 plus 1475. So it's $6,700 the first year. And then it is 475.
No, I mean if we only
12.
If we're
5,700.
Isn't it 8,800? Oh, you're doing the 36 month. I'm sorry.
Yeah, if you were on the month-to-month, then yeah, it's 575 times 11 plus 2475, so it would be 8,800 if you go that way.
Okay.
Okay.
And do you do any data backup?
Of course, we got like 18 levels of redundant data backup. I mean, we've got real-time replication that's going on to a database that's in another part of the country, so that's in real-time replication. We have daily backups. We have weekly backups off-site. I mean, there's backups beyond backups.
Who do you use to host your app?
We use AWS.
Okay. And is this what's that?
They're like the best. They're the leaders. If you look at Gartner Magic Quadrant, they're the leaders.
I agree 100%.
I mean, they're more expensive, but they're great. They're phenomenal. So we use AWS. We have for like three and a half years.
Yeah, that's a good host for sure. Yeah, I think we have a lot of our questions answered.
Okay. Well then, Doc, I'm going to send you this recording, and we can have a discussion, follow-up discussion, perhaps later on in the week. Then I know you guys have a short fuse here, so but I'll get it'll take me a little while. I have to wait for that recording to download, and then it has to convert. But in the next few hours, I'll get that recording sent over to you, and then we can follow up a little bit later on this week.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you. Now, you guys have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.